This is TWiT.
So Fedora has a complaint about RISC-V, actually. RISC-V is causing headaches for Fedora because the builds are slow. And this is something that we've talked about, that I've talked about with RISC-V, and that is that these are not super performant chips. At least so far, the various options that are out there for RISC-V are kind of slow. Now, this is specifically a Red Hat engineer. I believe it's Markin Justikowicz. Oh my goodness, I'm sure I just slaughtered that name. But anyway, he has a blog post on the subject that RISC-V is slow, and basically the fastest machine that they've got will build bin utils without link time optimization in about 143 minutes, whereas they can do it on an ARM64, an AArch64 board at 36 minutes. And you can do it on their x86-64 builds in like 29 minutes. So significantly slower. So RISC-V, and this is really not terribly surprising, RISC-V is not at this point designed to be a huge powerhouse. It's not for desktops, at least not yet. There've been a lot of dev boards that get embedded in a lot of things. In fact, people run a lot of RISC-V soft cores on FPGAs, but not super performant. Now, there is at least one board that's coming. I was looking to see if he mentioned it in this article. What the name of the board is. The Milk 5 Titan, that's the one, because it's got an ultra RISC URDP1000, which is a very impressive name. It can have up to 64 gigs of RAM and quite a few cores, so they're looking forward to that because they're going to get some more performance out of it. But for building packages, and this is something that I've mentioned when I've done reviews on RISC-V, it is performant enough to build packages, but not necessarily performant enough that you'd want to use it. And they're seeing that performance difference even in doing these package builds. Now, I think I teased before I started this story that I met someone. Well, I did indeed. I went to Embedded World, like we talked about at the top of the show. And one of the days, so they have things broken out into different halls, and we were in hall, I think it was hall 3, which is like where the edge devices are, and so that's where Meshtastic was at, because we're at the edge. But no, machine to machine, that's what they call us, M2M, machine to machine. But they had hall 4 at Embedded World. That was all software stuff. And I started reading through the list of software things and started recognizing names. Like Ubuntu was there, Igalia was there, Ubuntu Canonical was there. There's also, I think in Hall 4 was RISC-V. The RISC-V guys were there. They had a booth. And so I took one day and just sort of all of the names that I recognized, I went through and talked to them, handed them business cards. And I'm like, hey, my business card says that I'm here for Meshtastic Solutions, but I wear multiple hats. And I'm also the guy for podcasting. And turns out that when I walked up to the RISC-V booth, the guy that I talked to was Andrea Gallo, who is their CEO. And so I've got his business card and a soft commitment to have him on as a show host on Floss Weekly. So super duper looking forward to that. Hopefully sometime soon. We'll let you guys know about it when that happens. But anyway, over in RISC-V world, things are, well, let's just say that they're looking very hard, but the vendors building RISC-V chips so far have been concentrating on more performance per watt numbers than outright performance. And Fedora is sick of it. They're tired of it.
Well, I was wondering when you said it was
sleep.
What's it, Jeff?
Oh, I was going to say I was wondering when you were doing the article partway through. I'm like, is this an optimization thing or is this an actual just a hardware thing? So
I think it's a hardware thing. Yeah.
Well, and there's room for we need efficient processors. You know, it's got to run on a battery or something, and we can wait a little bit longer as long as we keep that battery up.
Mm-hmm. Part of the problem with RISC-V, and we talked about this in the past a little bit, is that when AMD or Intel, or AMD and Intel actually, they'll get together and they'll say, okay, we're going to implement this set of features, and it's going to be called this in the x86-64 spec, and that will allow for faster process, like AVX 512. let's just say. So here's the AVX 512 extensions that we're going to add to x86-64. Both companies support it, and then you can go and you can use that in your builds. You have those new instructions, and suddenly things are faster because you have dedicated instructions. In RISC-V, there is a need for some of those instructions that will help, but it is difficult because there's so many players and it's an open spec. It is difficult to get those things standardized, and this is a complaint that distros like Fedora and the like have had before, is because it's so all over the place, they can't turn on the equivalent of AVX 512, the SIMD instructions, like over in ARM land, you've got Neon and all of those. There's not been, at least so far, a kind of an instruction stepping like that, where, okay, this is the name of it, here's the set of instructions, everybody's going to implement it. Now, it's being worked on, and I think there is actually one of those sort of named instruction pools that is getting rolled out. But it takes time, and again, it's just not quite as efficient yet as the x86-64 or ARM guys are about it. But I know they're making progress. Ken, you were going to throw something in there?
I actually got distracted by what you were saying.
You had forgotten what you wanted to say. Well, yeah, that is all right.
Well, I was going to say, it's really that double-edged sword of, hey, we've got all the flexibility we want.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but that flexibility also kind of slows down some adoptions of things, and
it leads to, in this case, it's actually a form of fragmentation. That flexibility leads to a form of fragmentation in the actual instructions that each CPU will support, and so you get to this point to where distros, to combat that fragmentation, they sort of have to support the slowest common denominator of instruction sets. Which makes things difficult.
You could say a software analog would be just the Linux file, the Linux distribution systems,
mm-hmm.
where you can change the versioning of stuff, how things work, where
mm-hmm.
Sort of like when you still use the 32-bit on some systems.
In some ways, yeah, because everybody got a performance bump for going to 64-bit. If you enjoyed this clip, be sure to check out the Untitled Linux Show. You can find us in your favorite podcasting app or subscribe to our YouTube channel down in the links below. See you there.